that I really want to be that guy who produces the music and sit back. And I felt more creative when I'm in the studio space. A lot of the changes like we're talking about with the idea initially. When the moment I sit in the studio, my ideas just start flowing, and people are like, "Where did this come from? Where is this coming from?" So I've discovered that I'm happier.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Moments with Nyengeterai. I'm so excited to be back here with you, and I just want to say thank you to this community for the support. Thank you for the love, thank you for the likes, thank you for sharing, and thank you for subscribing over and above it. And I'm so excited that you've been commenting, you've been sending us messages, and the interaction is amazing. You've sent us questions for people that you want. And I'm so excited that today I have one of the guests that you've been asking for. And I will try and remember some of the questions that people have asked for. Victor, welcome.
Thank you, Nyenge. Thank you for the moment.
Thank you so much for being in the whirlwind. And thank you for coming through, Victor. I know a lot of people know Victor Kunonga, Victor but who is Victor? Just a brief introduction, especially for those people who know you as Victor the Star. Who is Victor? Victor.
I wish I was a star. One day I'll be a star.
You are.
Yeah, Victor is a family man, father of two, who grew up in Bulawayo, and also went to a rural school in my early years in Wedza, but most of my primary school was in Bulawayo, my high school in Bulawayo, as well as my tertiary education, who then moved to Harare some years, like 20 years back. And since then, pursued my passion, which is art. And music is one of the disciplines.
Nice. I actually want to start there. And I mean, we are the same age group, kind of.
Yes, we are the same age.
I want to understand, I remember when we were growing up, if you were doing anything artistic, it was looked at like, why would you do that? What made you pursue art, especially music, and what kept you going? I want us to start there.
Yes, it was an intuitive feeling that I always had. I didn't ever think I would be a musician, but it's the small steps from primary school or the small occasions when you are able to come up with something with friends, perform in front of the class. I remember in grade 6, I actually was part of a group of 5 guys that used to perform in class, and we were fortunate that our teacher loved the performances. So whenever we were about to knock off, he would give us 5 minutes to just present what we had in class. And the beauty of it is we were actually creating our own music. We were not the crew that would listen to radio and come and present what we hear on radio. So I guess then we didn't know we were actually composing and arranging. And after that, when I went to high school, I joined the marimba band. So I've always been one person that loves, rhythm, that loves to... I never liked singing, actually.
Really?
Yeah, but I loved music. I just loved music. And I eventually captained the marimba band because of my passion for the band. And after high school, I went to art school. So after art school, went into advertising. So you find that everything is quite knit together because I was also intrigued by how jingles were performed, were composed and performed, and how adverts were made. So I then wanted to record something of my own. So that's how I started, really.
Oh wow! So since you were a child, you loved the arts and you loved the music. Who do you believe influenced that love for the arts?
I'm confident to say it's a talent that I've always had.
Oh wow!
I think whenever I pursued or did something artistic, I would be one of the best, if not the best. It starts from molding mud, to playing tins and drums, with sticks, putting them together, and to drawing. I was very good at drawing in primary school. So whenever something needed to be drawn, I was the stop guy, the one-stop guy to be able to do that. So it's what I'm best at. So it wasn't difficult for my parents to channel me into pursuing art as a profession, because they knew that's what I was best at. So I remember after high school, I went to work for a year, and they kept saying, you need to do a course. And the only course you can do is an art course, because we feel that's what you can do. So I was fortunate in that, the footprints from a young age were able to convince my parents then. But not that it was, all I'm saying didn't have to do with music. Music becomes a totally different conversation.
Okay. So how did you, I think what really fascinates me is the fact that your parents were actually channeling you in that direction, because, our parents from long ago, they really did not really understand, I think, the art industry.
Yes.
But the fact that they were channeling you in that direction, I think that support probably was really good, because, we get lost along the way if we don't have the right channel. So when you then got into advertising, working in advertising, how did you then move and transition? You said you didn't like singing to singing.
Yeah, I never joined any choir in school. I was never part of any choir. But there are things you can't explain, and at times, because of your independence now, you are not in your parents' hands, you are independent, you are out there alone. You are able to pursue what's in your heart. And that's how I came to then start recording music. Of course, after several attempts to do it, it wasn't easy. Then I had to come up with a demo tape, which was very difficult to record. I recall the one time I had a small radio that used to record cassettes. It was a cassette player. And I had bought a guitar then, and I would record my songs on there, carry the radio to work, and play back to my workmates. All in an attempt to make them believe that I could amount to something, So so that's the journey. I guess I would want to call it a calling, where you are left with no choice, but you have to fulfill the desire to be able to, compose, sing, and entertain.
So did you actually go to school to learn how to sing and to how to compose, or it's a natural born talent?
In fact, what happened is I got an invitation from an artist. He's late now. May his soul rest in peace, Domingo Lowe. After he had met a friend of mine, and he in their conversation, my friend that says, you know what, I've got a friend I think is very passionate about music. I see at times he tries to sing and all that. And then Dumi just said, look, get him to come to the College of Music, because they used to have the Saturday pop workshops. So every Saturday, what they would do is they would register students for the term. So these students would only come on Saturdays for music workshops. What would happen there is you literally chose the class which you wanted. If you wanted to play drums, you wanted to be a keyboardist, you wanted to play the guitar and the like. So unfortunately, in my case, because I was enrolled late, I didn't have a choice but to be sent to the bass guitar class. So that was my very first time to hold a guitar.
Wow. What year was this?
This was 2000, was 99, 2000. So that was my first guitar I ever held. And we had just the one guitar in the class. So they would hand it over to the teacher would demonstrate and then hand it over to the different students to play. And when I held the bass, he says, have you played before? And I was like, I know I've never. And oh, you look like you've played. And I just knew, okay, maybe I'm destined to play this instrument.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. So that natural born talent has always been there in you. What have been the biggest challenges you believe in the music? It's really getting to finally start performing and singing. What were the biggest challenges that you met along the way?
Yes, the challenges are the very common challenges a lot of musicians have faced. And these challenges still persist up to now. The only difference being we can now independently produce or independently write our music or independently express ourselves, because we now do not belong to any institution in order to record.
This to be grammar and what?
Yes.
Wow.
It was grammar, ZMC, RTP, and the like. So I remember when I wanted to record, you literally have to present to the team that would yes or no you, basically. So when I brought in my
these were the recording companies.
The recording companies. So when I took my work to one recording company, look, it wasn't well presented because it was dubbed on a cassette that I kept re-recording on.
Those days.
So, and it's also very difficult for someone to try and deduce what someone else's idea. So if they don't understand it, they don't. So for you to be recorded was difficult. You'd have to try again or bring a better tape. So my first one was rejected. Then I had to rework. The demo tape and try again. Fortunately, when I brought in the tape, there was a guy who saw my burning desire to really want to record, and his name is Kelly Rusike.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the late Kelly Rusike. So when I left my details in the hope that they would call me to come and record, and unfortunately, the first call that came through was a rejection. That look, we didn't understand your demo. He then opened up a studio, and I'm one of the first people he called.
Wow!
So that's how I got to record my first album.
Wow!
So yeah, those are the teething problems that we faced then, that are not necessarily maybe persisting now because we've got technology has taken over. But the industry itself remains with a whole lot of challenges. In that it's not an easy walk. Just composition alone and making an impact is not easy. I mean, you are not the custodian of your destiny. Whatever you produce, it has to be consumed by the public. And do they like what you've done? Do they not? It remains to be seen when you've got your product in the market. So you may try and never get to. That's the honest truth.
Yeah.
You may try or you may do something beautiful, and it's subject to how everyone else receives it. I've often said to a lot of young musicians whose music is beautiful, they are a reflection of what I was, and even better, I've listened to their music and I've said, but why is this not taking off? Why is it not being heard? Why is it not being promoted? So the dynamics of the industry always change, depending on who occupies what position. If it's a promoter, what are they after? Promoting music or making money? So you may never be called on the relevant platforms depending on the person that's, hosting you. So there's a whole lot of challenges that would take me the whole day to explain.
No. That's so fascinating because I think when people look at musicians and we look at artists and we look at you guys performing, people just think it's easy. So this is enlightening to understand that this is what's happening in the background. Because I think we just think you just go record your song and it's out there. But understanding this, I think, also helps viewers to understand the journey. Take me through your writing process. Your songs are very deep. What is it? What are you in when you're writing your music?
Over the years, I've heard different musicians with, say, different versions of how they go through their creative processes. And there's no one size fits all. There are some who have said, we dreamed, Rota. We've heard. And actually, it's true. I have dreamt of songs that I've never remembered when I woke up. Yeah, and those I believe would have been the best days. And then, of course, some will say, I literally sit down and write a song, So there's different ways in how people come up with their creative work. In my case, I started with my guitar, and whatever tune I would come up with, I tried to fit in the relevant subject and something that I wanted to express or something I needed to amplify. For example, my first song on my very first album was called My Darre, and this was inspired by me reading the paper every morning and seeing so many cases of child abuse. I have a song called Peace. Again, it's watching the news and reading tabloids and papers and all that, to inspire a song. And then lately I've realized that I actually do not write songs. They just come. I don't even know how. So I realized that, look, as a musician, you actually work all the time. So there's never a particular time or place that you say, I have to be in this mode or in this space in order to be creative. As you are driving, as you are walking, tunes come up, ideas come up, words come up, and that's a song.
So do you stop and write, or?
It was difficult. I don't know how the likes of the late Oliver Mtukudzi did it then. Because, when you have an idea, you've got to document it. At least someone comes and greets you, and the moment you answer back, your idea is gone. Just the same way unongofunga munhu kuti andikufunga zvakati munhu obva auya akudisturba. That's how
creative process.
it comes up at times. So nowadays, easy. We had a period where you could buy a dictaphone, to record your idea. Then I'm not gonna forget this. Nowadays, you've got your phones, voice record. You can just la 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 your idea on your phone, and hope you remember how to then arrange it when you get to the studio or when you are recording it. So that's the advantage nowadays. Before, it would be so difficult to even greet me because I'm trying to hold my idea, and people think you are ignoring them, because you are wanting to hold on to something precious. Otherwise, I would not have heard my darire, for example. Yes.
That's actually very interesting because when you look at when you're talking about the creative process, that sometimes they just come. Sometimes some people say they dream, and you also worry about forgetting. But now at least you can now record them. So what happens when, let's say, you've recorded it? Have you ever had an incident where you've recorded it and then you finally get to the studio, and when you're trying to put it together, it completely changes?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, so many more songs than ever. You record, you have an idea, but by the time it goes through the recording process, and when the artistic license by other musicians or performers comes through, it changes the whole idea. But it changes it in two ways. Either it betters the idea or it makes the idea worse. Because what happens with a lot of musicians is, especially if you I believe everyone has the potential to be a composer, writer, or a musician. You've got your idea. Yes. We've all tried singing at some point in time in the bathroom or wherever.
Yeah, some of us we had a whole family telling us, please do not sing.
Yes, I was also like that. I mean, my family never believed I could sing. So during the process of recording or production of a song, a lot comes in. Other people are now involved. What I may like may not necessarily be what everyone else likes. And what everyone else may be reflecting what the listeners are going to like. Then again, I may be the one who's got the idea that the listeners are going to like. So you find that that artistic license to allow others to change the idea, make it better, comes into play. So what you originally had seldom comes to what you really want it to be at times. But there's one song that I literally had to perform each and every instrument because I wanted it that way.
Wow.
Yes.
What song is this?
It's called Vanochema Msango.
What was it motivated by? What was the inspiration?
This song was inspired by the way I felt certain instruments needed to be knit together to produce a unique dynamic sound. So it was very instrument oriented. I remember when I got my laptop and was able to use the software to record the idea. That was one of the first ideas I recorded. Wow. And the lyrics then came later. So I knew it was always going to be difficult to get a team to play it the way I really felt it. And then during the recording process, I put a skeleton of it, and I just thought, look, since I'm the one who's put a skeleton, let me just finish it up. So I then got a few people to come and feature on it, on the singing part in our show, but the instruments and everything and the arrangement as I wanted it to be. Yes.
Oh wow, that's very fascinating. And then now when you go live, how do you then what when you do my live performances?
Yeah, they obviously, because they've heard this song now, they're able to just play what has been recorded. So we play the same version. It will differ here and there because, like I've said, allow a little bit of expression from the different people to lighten things up.
When you're going to do live performances, what do you find easy and what do you find difficult about live performances in Zim?
Easy. I don't know if there's an easy part.
In a live performance, why? Okay, so what goes behind those live performances?
Because
us who come and watch what that we don't see, what is it?
I can give you an example. The moment I know I've got a performance tomorrow, my psyche already changes. I'm already imagining what this performance is going to be. What am I going to present? What am I going to wear? What theme do I want to go with? So you've already started working towards the performance. Comes the day you are worrying about, okay, we need to do the sound check. Is the sound going to be good? What are the engineers coming up with? Is everything going to be nicely knit together as we rehearsed it, or we didn't rehearse? So you've always got these moments, you know. You walk onto stage. The most difficult part is Kufadzavan. How do you please people? That's the most.
That's what I wanted to find out. What goes on when you get, how. How do you do it? How do you gauge, like what's going on in your heart, in your mind? And then when they then start reacting and they're excited, then what goes on in your mind as well?
Yes, yeah. So so I've been pointing out the difficulties. You see, there isn't an easy part that I've spoken of. Yeah, so you can imagine you're on stage and you need to please people. It's tough. It's tough, but it has to be done. It means you have to make sure you discard all your problems that you've had behind you, and you got to put a smile. You got to present yourself. You got to make people happy and entertain people. So it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job. I've had instances of people just walking onto stage to make an announcement. Very difficult for a lot of people to do. It's not easy.
During a performance?
Whether during a performance or a function or whatever. There's people who walk up on stage, and it's actually not easy standing in front of that mic and speaking to people with all those eyes gazing at you and listening and expecting you to say something or sing something. So, yeah, you've just got to get into your own space and tell yourself that, look, I'm a different person altogether. The Victor that's off stage is not the same Victor that's on stage.
When you're talking, I'll be so shocked because, the way you perform, the singing, the dancing, when you see your audience, it is, you're playing and then you start dancing and then your audience starts singing along and dancing. How does that make you feel? Does that energize? What happens?
Look, I've often said, I never submit my work for awards. Why I've said the biggest award you can ever have is when people hear your music and they resonate with it, they love it, and they connect and are able to be influenced by it, whether in behavior or inspired in some way. That's the biggest award you can ever give or you can ever get. So it's always a good thing or thrilling to have your fans and listeners connecting with your music like that?
Those dance moves. Talk to me about them. I want to know about those dance moves. Talk to me about them. Do they just come? I mean, how? Because they're different. I mean, it's so unique. I mean, your music and the way you dance, just the way you structure your it's so unique and so different. Talk to me about those dance
Yes,
moves.
it's self-expression. I mean, I'm I'm a son of a very great dancer. My father dances far better than I do.
Really?
Yes, far, not even comparable.
Oh, wow, we gotta get Dad to do a dance for us.
Yes, but as an entertainer, you got to express yourself. How you express yourself is shown by what is reflecting within you. How you also come up with something different and original is you. At the end of the day, you are unique in your own way. The next guy is unique in their way. So that uniqueness comes from when you dig deep inside you to, project what's you. Without you, yes, you can be influenced. We were all influenced by other people, but even when you put the next person that you are influenced by against you, people are still able to tell that no, this is this and this is Nyenge. That kind of. So it's intrinsic, really. It's really got to come from the heart to say, okay, I've thought of this idea, I haven't heard of it. Let me project it. Let me give it to the people. So even the dances, that's how they come about. At times I don't even need to think about it. I say I just dance because I'm in my mode of dancing.
Oh wow! So do you come up with all your dance moves, or do you other band members also create some in the process, or it's really the ones you do together?
Yeah, in the early days I would literally say, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? But like I've said, also give the license to others to bring something creative to the team. So you find the ladies will have their own dance that's different, and I will have mine, and we combine and stuff like that. So yeah, we have to create something unique to be different.
When you're performing, what do you find is easier for you as an artist? Do you find recording, being in the background, just recording and having music out there, better than going out there and being with your, with your fans? What do you love the most?
To be honest with you, before you are a musician, you want to be on stage. You want to be this guy that's going to be singing and jumping and entertaining. But for me, when I became one, I wanted to be in the background. I was like, I really want to be that guy who produces the music and sit back. And I felt more creative when I'm in the studio space. A lot of the changes, like you're talking about, with the idea initially, the moment I sit in the studio, my ideas just start flowing, and people are like, where did this come from? Where is this coming from? So I've discovered that I'm happier behind the desk in the recording environment, because that's where my creative juices are at optimal. On stage, I'm merely just going to reflect what has come out of the studio. And days are different, performances are different, and they are tiring. It's a lot of work, late nights and stuff like that. So I think my optimum space is in the studio.
What has given you the staying power? Like I look at music and Zim. I just look at different industries all the time. And I find that with certain industries, people come and then they go. People come and they go. They just disappear. But Victor has been Victor. And Victor's, like 20 years later, Victor is Victor. And, what gives you that staying power?
Look, I guess it's how one manages themselves. Look, we've had more difficult years than the easier years, but it's also evolving and remaining relevant. And it's not a case of I must be seen that I'm relevant. I must. You got to be grounded and identify your strengths and just be above the water. I'll give you an example of people like Oliver Mtukudzi. They came a long way, and you'll find that it's probably in their late 40s, 50s that really became very but it's how he survived from being the young musicians to where he eventually got. So it's important to identify to balance yourself against the turf. But things are like this, let me lean this way, let me lean that way. So in the last year or two, when we're talking of evolving, I've done a lot of collaborations. Before I would do collaborations with musicians that ain't popular. That's always been my drive, actually, that I need to do collaborations with a guitarist, for example. It's a collaboration. When you get a guitarist from there, come feature on my song, a mbira player or, a bassist from somewhere else, But I've also started doing experiments on how to depict myself as a young person and how young people can enjoy the type of music which is traditional but also toned down to sound modern. So it's another evolving process to just keep oneself staying relevant to the audience. So yeah, it's pretty much more on what you identify on the turf and dodge or take advantage of.
You said something exciting. You just talked about evolving, that you have to evolve as an artist. If you were to give advice to the young and upcoming artists from what you've learned in the industry and the evolving that you're talking about, what 2 or 3 advice would you give these young people, young upcoming artists who want to get into the industry and who want to stay relevant?
True. Art and the success of art, there's no particular formula to say that if I do this, this is going to be the outcome. But I've often said that the more authentic you are, the different you become, and the more staying power you have, because you've created something that cuts across age, that may not be limited by the space you are within. Because at the end of the day, when I make music, I'm not saying that no, I'm making music because ndikuda kuti munhu asingakwanise kunzwa zvandiri kuimba must still enjoy the music, and they must still dance to the music. So when I remove my voice, you must enjoy the music. If I remove my instruments, you must still enjoy the music. So what am I saying? When you create something that stands the test of time, you may not reap the rewards today, but in future unozoona kuti no zvandakaita zviya like my song inonzi maidare, people still love, people come to my shows because of that song, and I'm saying to myself, look, I took the time to do a song and it's a good song. So that's one, digging deep within yourself to produce something that stands time. Two, being homegrown, the mistake we at times make is exotic, because everybody is enjoying a certain sound, everyone in the world. We also tend to think maybe that's the sound I need to adopt so that I'm also loved by the world. Yes, it works for some, but it doesn't work for the majority of us. Why? Because that particular sound has been created in a different environment by someone who has done an original job of it, and you are trying to copy that particular sound, which is a very difficult thing to do. So you always be number 2, number 3, or whatever version of that particular person. So I always encourage originality. And look, 3, being grounded. The music industry, especially in this country, we can't say it's a very successful industry. So what tends to happen, because we've now got a lot of independent studios, one is able to produce a song and people love it. It's on radio, it makes you big and popular. But is that a reflection of how you live? So you are constantly under pressure to now try to live up to the popularity that you have in the media. There's Facebook, there's all this. You see these guys with lavish videos and everything, but that's not how we live. That's not who we are. Reality integrity, we live here, ndakutokura kombi, ndakutotsvaga transport, so a lot of musicians get frustrated in that mix. And when you get frustrated, what happens? You start indulging in all the bad things like my drugs, alcohol, and stuff. So those are my 3 points to young musicians or to any musician.
I like those points, and then I think they'll be helpful to a lot of young people. And especially people coming in the arts. And I think especially that you touch on the drugs and the alcohol, that they need to look out for that. Because I think, when someone just puts art, they just want to put art, drugs, music together. Well,
yes,
it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, yes. Yeah.
No, I really like that. But thank you for highlighting that. If you had to do it all over again, and, what is the one thing that you'd really do differently in terms of your music? And what is the one thing that you definitely keep and continue to replicate?
What I would do differently is I would want to be able to produce an album every year. Because now, in these days of content, you realize, all my ideas, I've got so many ideas, hundreds and hundreds of ideas, but I never got to producing them. And it's within those hundreds that maybe I have 10 songs that could have taken me far. So that's one thing I would definitely do differently. The other question is, what would I keep?
What would you keep? What did you replicate?
Well, what can I replicate? I would replicate my approach to the first project, where I felt I wasn't tainted by anyone. I didn't belong to a particular group that influenced my creativity. I was just so into, I was in my own space that wasn't questioned by anyone. And I was allowed to express myself in that space, which was not tainted by any group or any other influences from a lot of other people.
Oh, wow. That's very nice. So anyway, so just to close us off, so we always have these fun questions. I still have a lot of questions that I wanted to ask, but I know at times they're on our side. I just have some 5 fun questions that I want to ask. Number 1, what's your favorite color and why?
I don't know why I'm inclined to the orange at the colors.
Okay.
Yeah,
And your favorite animal?
that's an obvious one. It's my totem. Mofu is my...
Yeah, okay.
And it's a beautiful animal. I love it. Yeah. I love it for its beauty.
What are you reading? Or what was the last thing you read?
Last thing I read last night was a pamphlet I got from some real estate developer that I found very interesting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I found it very, very interesting.
Okay. And in terms of your favorite song genre?
Sure. Yeah, that's a tough one. I listen to a large spectrum of music, and in fact, the music that I grew up listening to, and what I play day and night. You know, people are surprised at what I listen to and what I perform on stage. So, I've said to myself, and I've shared this with my son, and I've always said, look, I think the best musician who's ever lived for me is Bob Marley. You know, the way he wrote his music, the way he inspired, you know, the way he performed, you could feel him. So I don't know, maybe that's what I love him, but Bob Marley specifically, not anyone else.
Oh, nice. If this was your last day on earth and you were like about to transcend, what would you say? Like if we said, okay, Victor, this is it, and then you'd be like, okay, God, I'm ready to go because I've done what?
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think. One thing that you want to
make sure you've done before you move, you transcend to the next.
Right. I would ask for forgiveness to all the people that I wronged, and I would want to know if they've forgiven me.
Okay, it's a nice one. That's an interesting one, I guess. We've packed our bags. We have our passports, and we're going to the airport. Where are we flying off to?
We're flying off to Australia.
Oh, nice.
Why? Because ndinofarira kazuva.
That's nice. I think you're one of the first people who've talked about Australia, so that's a fun, that's a nice and different one. So, Victor, just to close us off, what's one last thing that you have to say to our audience as we close off the program today?
Well, the audience, I'm glad that we've shared this moment together, and continue supporting Victor Kunonga and peace. Peace is what we stand for, and be inspired by what we do. We know you are there for us, and please make sure you follow us on our social media platforms where we advertise ourselves. And thank you for the support you've always given us over the years.
Please say shout out to one of your number one supporters. She's called Kumbula Shweza. Please.
Hey, Kumbula.
Please.
Shout out to you, Kumbula. Yes, she comes. Yeah, I know Kumbula.
I would like to say thank you, everyone. Thank you, Victor, for this enlightening interview, and thank you for the music that you continue to produce. And as you go out this week, people, please remember to support our local artists, to listen to the music. And remember, it takes time for them to come out and to create this music. So while we are also creating in our different fields and our different platforms, let's remember that, let's remember to support those people who are consuming. Can we support those ones who are creating this art? So have a lovely week, and I'll see you next time.